Jupiter, Saturn, Capricorn, Pluto. Okay. Yes. Year. 4-year. Starseeds. Okay. Services.
Hey, that did it. That was quick.
We're live?
In a sec.
Okay. And will I be able to see the split screen, or am I just going to see you?
Whoever's talking, I think it'll either be a split screen or whoever's talking at that time.
Okay.
You know, I'll bounce back and forth on that. It's kind of different. What you see on Zoom won't be the final product, though. So yes, I believe we are live. We actually have 15 people on right now. Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across the planet, around the world. My name is Gregg Prescott from In5D.com, and today I am joined by astrologer Matthew John. Matthew, welcome to the show. Are you there? Now you're muted. You were muted. I'm unmuting you. There you go. You're good.
Can you see me? And can you see me? Because I can't see myself.
No, I can't see you. If you go down to the lower left-hand corner, you'll see mute, and you'll see a video thing there on Zoom. There you go. There you go. That's how you do it. Awesome. Yeah, I see you. Hang on. Wait, you're muted. Now I'm unmuting you. I'm trying to unmute. Hang on, you're still muted. So I'm trying to unmute you, and it's not unmuting.
There we go. Now,
oh,
yeah,
oh.
It looks like I should be good now.
We're good. Yes. Awesome. Yay. Makes you think, you know, hell, it's not Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
That's coming up, though.
Yes.
Right?
It's surfing. I wish I had in front of me. I don't know what the next one is. But yeah, were we live when you called me an astrologer?
Well, you're much more than that anyway. You know.
Yeah, that's exactly. Because I caution
healer. You know.
No, really, I'm not an astrologer whatsoever. I am an amateur. I'm a spiritual teacher, and I have an interest in astrology. And the articles that I write for your website, they are themed, you know, in astrology. But I'm not reading people's birth charts. I'm not in that deep yet. I'm more kind of providing the spiritual values that come along with each song. I'm very basic astrologer, I would say.
Okay.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was a good introduction, actually. So yeah, I was going to ask you.
I can give a much better introduction
Yeah.
than that.
Okay.
My name is Matthew John. I run a website called youaredivinehuman.org, and that's my brand, You Are Divine Human. It's just me. I'm a spiritual teacher, spiritual healer, intuitive healer, quantum energy healer, and a guide for Starseeds. And I basically, most of my life is working one-on-one with people over the phone, over Skype, throughout the world. I've had clients in 50 countries or so. So that's most of my life. And I also do write articles for In5D and for my own website and for other outlets. And I do videos for my own website, for some other outlets on YouTube. And there's some other platforms that have me on once in a while as well. So basically, I would say my forte is a spiritual teacher, as we kind of talked about earlier.
Well, I'll tell you what, you kick ass in astrology.
Again, I caution, like, if someone came to me with their birth chart, I would look at it like I was trying to read German. I'm not there yet. So yeah, I caution when people call me an astrologer. I just want to, because there are real astrologers out there who do really know what they're doing. I'm very basic.
Well, I just put your link in the chat room on YouTube so people can check it out there. And when this is done and over with, I'll put it in the more info section below that video, as well as when I upload it to in5d.com. I'll leave a link there so people will know how to find you.
Awesome.
And so anyway, let's get into it. Where do you want to start today?
Well, I want to start by asking you, aren't you from my part of the woods, Western New York originally?
Upstate New York, the Catskill Mountains.
Oh, you're from the Catskills. Oh, I don't know why I thought you were from Buffalo. Okay.
Oneonta, Coney Island. A lot of people, when I say Oneonta, what? Coney Island?
Oneonta, I know exactly where Oneonta is. Exactly what I've been through there. Yeah, exactly. But you don't miss the winters at all?
No, the change of seasons are highly overrated. Give me some.
They're overrated, I see.
Yeah.
What about
I just saw that 7 months. I just saw there's a storm Henry coming up there, a nor'easter. Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about this one.
I just heard about it today. Yeah.
Well, as I told you, oddly enough, we haven't had snow here in about 3 weeks. We had 40 inches of snow in November and December. Nothing the past couple weeks. Very strange.
How old are you?
I'm 33. I'm master number 33. So hopefully
nice.
It'll be a good year for me.
My daughter was conceived on my 33rd birthday, so that was kind of special.
I would love for that to happen for me this year as well.
But
I don't know if I know you're a sports fan a little bit, right?
Yeah, NFL.
I don't know if you're into hockey at all, but Alex, when the Capitals won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, Ovechkin was on his 33rd birthday. He had the best year of his career. He's becoming the greatest player of all time. He's going to become better than Gretzky when all is said and done. And he won the Cup finally on his 33rd year. And I was like, there's something with that 33. A lot of people have big years in their 33rd year.
Yeah, you either have a big year or you die. One or the other.
Okay. Well, let's hope it's a good year for me.
Yes,
27. 27 is another one. If you notice, a lot of
Hendrix,
famous
Joplin,
artists died at 27, right?
Cobain.
Yeah. I guess with being a 9-year, the end of the third 9-year cycle, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Fun stuff. And that's something I did want to mention to everyone about 2020. I don't know what we're going to get into. If we could start, if it's cool with you, with a little kind of outlook on 2020, we can both.
You got the
put
platform.
It in yeah, let's do it. So, couple things to keep in mind for 2020. First of all, we were talking about numerology a little bit. 2020 is a 4-year. Okay. So if we think about the number 4, just think about, well, what do we associate with 4? Well, a chair has 4 legs, hopefully. A dog has 4 legs, hopefully. A cat has 4 legs, ideally, right? 4 is the number of stability. This is why pretty much all buildings are built, with 4 sides, right? So 4 is about stability. 4 is about a foundation. It's about building a foundation this year. And if we think about the decade of the 2020s, this is the first year, but it's the 0 year, so to speak, 2020, right? So the 0 year is kind of the void year where we have the opportunity to build that foundation. So it's a good idea to keep that number 0 in mind. It's, kind of a fresh start this year, but also more importantly, the number 4. So how we can really best utilize the energies of 2020 is to think about, what kind of life do we want to be living in 2029? Think about what do you want your life to be like 9 years from now or 10 years from now? And so however you want your life to be like at the end of the decade, then work backwards and think about, well, what would have to be done? Me, I want to have a family. I want to, have a thriving business, 6 figures or more. I want to be traveling the world, giving seminars and seeing different exotic national parks and meeting all sorts of cool people and all that. And, so you think about things like finances, think about things like your environment, is your environment right now serving you? If not, then, what kind of environment do you dream of? You may not be ready yet financially to move to the environment you dream of, but if you are, this might be a year where you think about doing that. Or if you're not ready financially, you figure out, okay, well, what can I do financially to get myself in position to be able to live where I want to live? Are the people you're living with in your own home serving your highest evolution or not? Or are they dragging you down a little bit, right? And That's a very honest question to ask. Is the, I mean, immediate environment around you, if you're living in like New York City, and, let's say you're living in Brooklyn, and you're surrounded by people and fun and bars and cool festivals, but you're also living in an electromagnetic soup. New York City is just the stuffy magnetic soup. For some, hey, they enjoy the social aspect. Some people, they get sick because of all the electromagnetic energy and all just the stuffy air, the polluted water, the polluted food, and their soul wants them to move more out into the country, maybe out to Central Jersey or something, or upstate where he's from, or out west, right? So think about your environment. Think about what type of, if you don't have a family yet like me, if you're part of the younger generation and you're thinking about creating a family someday, what kind of life would you want your kids to live? Would you want your kids to be raised in public school where they have to go through, wanding every day because people are worried about school shootings, right? Or do you want them to live? And for some people, that's fine. And that's okay. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. Some people, yeah, a city public school that you would want to raise your kids there. For a lot of us light workers, we're thinking about creating a future where kids are raised in an educational system that's a little bit more conducive to spiritual values, right? Perhaps we think about like Waldorf schools, or we think about like communal homeschooling, right? That's like, personally, that's where I want to raise my kids, in kind of a communal homeschooling situation, right? So think about that. What kind of future would you like for your future kids if you don't have kids already, right? If you do have kids already, well, are you happy with the environment that they're in, or is there something that would better serve your entire family as far as your environment, right? So we got to think about, living our most authentic selves, right? Our most authentic selves in 10 years. And we start now building that foundation. And there's so much Capricorn energy right now. Capricorn, to start this year, is in the sun, it's in Mercury, it's in Jupiter, it's in Saturn, and it's in Pluto. So the majority of the aspects right now that are going on are Capricorn. Capricorn is that very masculine energy that likes to bring everyone down to earth and to say, you may have been dreaming a little bit in the past year when Jupiter was in Sagittarius. Now with Jupiter in Capricorn and all the other planets in Capricorn, reality strikes. Reality comes to you have to look at what's going on in your life, including finances. Capricorn has a lot to do with finances. All of the earthly material things, this is all Capricorn's domain. So we can't ignore that stuff any longer. Capricorn, think about your career, your job, your career. Is your job or career draining your energy? Do you feel like you don't want to be at work? Do you feel like, Ron Livingston in Office Space, right? Or are you enjoying what you do? I love what I do. Greg, I'm sure you love what you do. I mean, we've been so blessed to be able to create our own businesses and sustain ourselves financially. And it's an amazing thing. And there's so many light workers who want to do the same thing. And not everyone has to be a life coach or a healer or have a spiritually themed website. There's so many different things that we can do, with an entrepreneurial spirit or working with a small group of people. This is the 2020s, and it's already been happening, is the return of the small business. Amazon and eBay have really, we think about they're big evil corporations on one level, but on another level, they've allowed for the resurrection of the small business. And that's what's going to be forming the basis of our new economy. It's no longer an economy where there's the 5 big corporations that control the media and the 5 big corporations that control the food system. That is going to transition to many different conscious small businesses serving perhaps a smaller number of people, but with a higher quality product, right? So that's why, if you've been thinking about starting a small business, like the 2020s, the energy is really perfect, absolutely perfect for that to happen.
You were talking about the life path 4, this being a 4-year and
right.
building the foundation. two things. I've got kind of points I want to
Yeah.
ask you about. For those who have a life path 4, with this being a life path 4 year, what does that mean for them? And with this being a life a 4 year, a life path number 4 year, 5 has changed. So that makes sense with what you're saying about building the foundation for magnanimous change next year.
Certainly. To answer your first question, I will once again say that I'm not a numerologist. I dabble very, a little bit in numerology, right? I'm very much an amateur in that as well. And I would say that you want to look at what your personal year is, more importantly, okay? And I don't recall exactly how to do it. Google how to look up your personal year. It has to do with adding up the digits of the year we're in, plus I think your birth year, and your birth date. But look that up. Your personal year is more important. So to answer your question, I don't know. I actually don't know. But look up your personal year. And yeah, the second part of that, absolutely. You know, if we look at 2021, will be a 5 year, and 5 is kind of, you know, the change that needs to happen. So we're building the structure now. On a world scale, a lot of the maybe economic changes may start to happen in 2021, which sets us up for the rest of the decade. You know, personally, I there's such a theme of finances for the next 10 years, what I feel, for the entire planet. And I think we may see a gradual shifting in the economic climate of the planet, not all in 1 year, not even all in 10 years, but I think a lot of it's going to start to shift in this decade. The 2030s, I see as the decade where the conscious communities of the planet are really starting to become more visible. As in, you know, we've seen over time little communities popping up here and there. I mean, since the 60s, right? Or even before, where people live in an off-grid situation or living in a conscious community. They have one in Ithaca, right, up by you and me here. So I think that's going to really become a lot more prominent here in the US in the 2030s. And we're going to start to see those, like the new educational system, right? The new economic system start to really like be in place in the 2030s. And the 2040s, we're starting to look at the new Earth, it being kind of totally here. That I kind of see a 20-year transition period before we're kind of really there. I see an 80-year transition period before we're totally 100% there, which is a projection that is a lot slower than I think most people have. But if you look at the projections in the 1990s, if you look at all the channel material of the 1990s, everything they projected, none of it came true at all. None of it. There were no cataclysms. There were no, you know, half the planet being taken to another planet. None of it came true. We had some earthquakes and some hurricanes, but nothing that was that out of the ordinary. If you look in the context of the last 100 years, nothing. So I think that a lot of the projections have been wrong, and this is going to be a very slow process that continues to happen. But there will be events, you know, there will be things that I think back to 2011 when we had the Occupy Wall Street movement going on in the US, and it was kind of like a flashback to the 60s. And that lasted for a couple months, and then it kind of fizzled out. The whole rhetoric of the 1% versus 99%, that was a lot bigger in the lead up to the 2016 election, right, with Bernie, than even now. I don't know why, but I feel like with the 2020 election, that whole rhetoric's going to really come back even stronger. And I think people are going to really be, you know, talking about the fact that, you know, again, the 1% to the 99%, that such a small amount of people in the country and in the world have the mass amount of wealth. That's going to be, that awareness will come to more and more people around the world this decade. And I think we're going to see a lot more of the protests, like what we saw in Cyprus a couple of years ago with the banks falling, and Greece, right? And Venezuela, that horrible situation. We're going to see a lot more of that around the world, and perhaps even in our own country, I think, in the next couple of years. And that will kind of be the energetic impetus for the shift, the eventual complete shift from the banking system we've had on the planet to a more conscious system where everyone can have enough eventually, you know, but it's not going to happen right away. It's going to take about 20 years, I think.
You know, a couple points here. I've followed Pluto and Capricorn for years on In5D. And one prediction I made a long time ago is that we're going to see the collapse of money, government, and religion, with Pluto being the destroyer.
Yeah, that's
You know,
Pluto. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, that's Pluto.
And
Yeah.
we're seeing that right now.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, the
we
last
are.
time that Pluto was in Capricorn was during both the French and American revolutions.
Right.
Look at what's
Yep.
going on in France. And we're having a silent one right here, right now in
Yep.
the United States.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. It is already happening. It's just a matter of how quickly it happens and how it ends up looking. I think that I've always felt, at least for the past few years, that we've kind of created a timeline here where it's kind of the soft ascension that we've chosen rather than like a potential hard ascension where it's just like, I don't know, World War III or cataclysms on the planet, or I don't think we chose that path. I think we chose the more gradual ascension so that more soul, almost everyone that's on the planet now will have the opportunity to join in, which is great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's better than losing half of the planet,
On
Why
YouTube, I posted a link on In5D. What is your personal year? So you can check that out. And what it is apparently is your birthday, the day and month that you were born, added together,
Right.
worked it down to the lowest denominator, plus the year that we're currently in.
Yeah.
So mine boiled down, my birthday boiled down to 11, well, 2 actually. So, and the year we're in is 4. So that's a 6.
Right.
So that would be that
Right.
for me. It would be a 6 for my personal year. Just explain.
6 can be a really good year. 6 can be a good year of opportunity. 6 kind of, if I'm not mistaken, 6 kind of goes along with Jupiter, right? And Jupiter's that energy of auspiciousness and opportunity, right? So I think it could be a really good year for you. But again, we don't want to base everything on numerology, because I look back, like this is a 7-year for me coming up. 7 years is not that auspicious of a year. It can be like stop sign ahead. But I look back at last year, the year before, and I was like, kinda. It kind of worked out the way that numerology would say it kind of didn't. The same thing with astrology. I mean, I think astrology is a lot more accurate of an indicator than numerology personally. But again, like, looking back at, I got a reading from a really good astrologer out there, and looking back at my past, and some of it really made sense. Like, yep, this planet was here, this planet was here, and that happened. Some of it was like, it could have gone either way. And the same thing with like my year ahead. It's like, things could go either way. So we don't want to rely too much on it. We want to be creating a reality. We want to use that masculine energy, law of attraction, to create the life we want. And then you see what happens. If the astrology really supports it, it may just happen easier. If the astrology doesn't really support it, you may find it a little bit more struggle, but it doesn't mean it won't happen,
Being a life path 9, I do see 9 a lot. I also see sevens in my life a lot. As a matter of fact, with G being the 7th letter of the alphabet, I actually have triple 7s in my name if you break it down. And I see 7s and 9s a lot. But and then once again we go into with the 11-11 thing. What does that boil down to you when you constantly see these repetitive numbers? It might not be 11-11. I know that for me, I'll see my birthday, it'll be 10-19, October 19th. I look at the watch, or well, I don't wear a watch, but if I look at the clock, it's 10-19. It's my birthday. And I've asked a lot of people, have you noticed that? And they thought, well, I really haven't noticed it, but I'm going to start checking it out. And once they started checking it out, it's coming up now, all the time now, their birthday, when they check the time. So
I've never thought of that. I've never ever thought of that. Mine would be 10:30. I've never thought of that at all.
You're going to see 10:30 popping up a lot now. Hey, it's 10:30 right now. No, just kidding.
I'm trying to think what show I like is on at 10:30. I guess Crank Yankers on Comedy Central.
Okay.
That's on 10:30. Yeah, the 1111. I mean, that's the that's the big seminal. That's the wake up number. That once you start seeing 1111 on clocks or anywhere, you're on the ascension path. You've been activated. Without a doubt. I remember. I like to share this story. I remember. I think it was back in like 2011 or 12. 2000. I think it was 2012. This is when I was really just kind of at the very beginning of my awakening journey. I remember waking up one morning and I just looked at the clock and it said 12:12 morning. It was when I was still staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd sleep till 11:30, but I woke up and I looked at the clock and it said 12:12, and I just felt like I got taken somewhere else for I don't know how long, and kind of returned to my body while I was looking at that clock. And I just intuitively knew that nothing would ever be the same for me, and that came true. Nothing has ever been the same since that day when I saw the 12:12. So 12:12 can be an activator too. I swear to you, I do not go one day when I drive. I work from home, but when I do go out in Rochester here, I don't go a day without seeing some repeating numbers on license plates. Today it was 444, 777, 222, and 555. And I always, Rochester, like it's a small city. It was 10 minutes to my destination, 10 minutes back. It's like, it's amazing. Every day that I drive, I see them on the license plates every single day.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, 777. Of course, you would see that today.
Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
In the chat room, Destine is saying she saw 12:12 today here on the Zoom chat.
Yeah. Hi, Destiny.
Gloria on YouTube is asking, what does 9/11 mean?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Someone on the chat can answer that for me. I don't know. I haven't even thought of looking into that.
So let's go in a different direction here. Let's talk about starseeds. How does somebody know if they're a starseed? How do they know where they're from?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. So I'm so excited we get to talk about this today. So the first question, how does one know if you're a starseed? Well, I'm going to be honest, most likely 99% chance if you're watching this, you are. Because if you're a starseed, you start to find material like this. You start to find a website like yours or a website like mine, and the YouTube videos. YouTube has an endless supply of good content for people who are awakening. So it's most likely you are. I'm going to give you my model of kind of what a starseed is, how a starseed works.
Uh-oh, you froze up. Oh no, dude, you're freezing up.
What the purpose of a starseed is. So on this planet here, on this Earth realm, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you froze up.
Good from my...
Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, now you're back. You're back. Okay. Everything looks good. You just froze up. So
okay, so do you know where we left off?
Uh-oh, no, you're freezing up again.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're back.
Are we okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Just tell me again if it... So my model of the planet here is this, and this comes from my own channeling, my own information I've received, and also from, especially there's one book that really helped me to understand kind of the physics of this. It's called Expansion for Ascending Consciousness by Todd R. Devine. That's a really amazing book to kind of understand this better. There's 3 types of souls on Earth. You have the organic soul, these are basically new souls. So these are souls that have come from Alcyon to planet Earth, and they've gone through the plant and animal kingdom before ascending to becoming third dimensional beings. So this is like their first planet. There are those new souls, so to speak, out there. They're old souls. The old souls are the starseeds and also other galactic beings that may even, their true essence may even be a planet or a galaxy even, which I've encountered two of these people in my own work where they're really galaxy, like their truest essence, their deepest essence is an entire galaxy. And if we think about, you know, how expansive creation really is, I mean, I think our scientists tell us there's approximately 400 billion galaxies out there. I mean, creation is just endless. It's endless, right? So it's certainly quite possible. And if you think about 400 billion galaxies, how many planets, and there's billions of planets in each galaxy. I mean, it's a number that becomes irrelevant. It's so large, right? That's how much creation is out there. It's completely infinite. So beings will travel, they will travel to different places in creation to experience different things. Once they've reached a level of consciousness where they can create, it's like branching off, it's creating another piece of yourself to send somewhere else. So this is the whole essence of how the Starseed game works. So for, let's say, for example, me, I have got, you know, what I've received is, well, my first recollection of being a starseed was that I just felt that I was from Sirius, from the Sirius star system. There's two stars that we know there, Sirius A and Sirius B. And I just intuitively knew, this was back in like 2011, that I was from there. And then later on, I started having these connections with other beings, and I realized that I'm also Andromedan, which is a very broad term to say that you come from the Andromeda galaxy, which is our sister galaxy. The Andromeda galaxy sits right next door to the Milky Way galaxy, and on a spiral of ascension, the Andromeda galaxy is one step up spiritually from the Milky Way galaxy. So that's kind of the direction that our galaxy is heading. So that's why many, many beings come from the Andromeda galaxy to assist in the ascension of not only our planet, but many different planets in the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way is a relatively lower dimensional galaxy as opposed to some other galaxies around. So if you're an Andromedan starseed, you could be from, again, I think our science says there's some crazy number, over 1 billion different stars alone in the Andromeda galaxy. So you could be from anywhere. I can be from anywhere in the Andromeda galaxy, right? But basically what the idea is that my true consciousness ascended in the Andromeda galaxy, probably starting as a new soul, plant kingdom somewhere, an animal kingdom somewhere, to a third dimensional existence somewhere, to a fifth dimensional, perhaps sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth dimensional existence somewhere in the Andromeda galaxy. And at a certain point, my true conscious made the decision to create a new piece of myself and send it somewhere else. And one of the places that I have been sent is here, to the Earth realm. But there's me's that are a lot of different places, and there's yous that are a lot of different places. I had this experience that was one of the markers of my early awakening when I was in, of all places, Buffalo, New York, right? And I was literally, it was on the most random, unspiritual night you can imagine. I had left a bar at 1 o'clock in the morning down by the University of Buffalo South Campus area there. And I had some magic mushrooms in my pocket, and I was chewing them throughout the night while I was at the bars. And I just got so sick of the bars because I was starting to feel the vibe of the mushrooms. And I just started getting led by something, by some greater consciousness than me. Behind the bars, I found this forest, which I had never known. And I found myself getting led out to this really weird clearing where it looked like homeless people had been sleeping sometimes. And this was in like January. And I just felt guided to lay down. And I looked up at the trees, and all of a sudden I saw in the trees all these different faces of me in other places in the universe. And I knew that at that moment that I was multidimensional, and that it wasn't just me here on Earth. There's other aspects of me in other places in our galaxy, or maybe even in other galaxies. And this is kind of how the starseed thing works. It's like you have this true consciousness that then branches off into other pieces, right? And if one of those pieces comes down into the Earth plane or into our solar system, right, that the desire is for your true consciousness to experience the entire realm, the entire experience of what needs to be on Earth. And usually that means multiple lifetimes. So a lot of people might ask, like, okay, if I'm a starseed, does that mean this is my first lifetime or not? And usually what I found, the answer is no, this is not your first lifetime on Earth. And so then the natural question would be, well, have I been a starseed all along? My inclination is yes, is that what happens is that the true consciousness wants to experience everything in the Earth game. So you experience perhaps hundreds of lifetimes or even more recycling in and out of different bodies here on Earth until you finally awaken. And when you awaken, which is happening in the lifetime that you and I are in, and perhaps so many people on this call and who are watching this later on, this is our ascension lifetime. And this is the lifetime where we get to eventually merge back to our starseed self and go somewhere else, experience something else. Or for a lot of us, it may be coming back after this lifetime is over, whether that be in next year or in 100 years or 500 years, back to the Earth to live on the ascended Earth. Because, once the ascension happens, the Earth isn't going to disappear, right? It's still going to be here as an ascended planet. And there will be beings that will be living here and making this their home planet. And eventually the beings that, perhaps the organic souls that have come through Alcyone to this being their first planet, they will reach a frequency eventually where Earth is at such a high frequency that Earth beings will become starseeds to go to other places that need help in ascending. That could happen 1,000 years from now, right? So it's this whole endless process. And when a being branches off to become a starseed, and it seems like it's generally in more than one place at once, there's a couple things that the true consciousness, as I like to call it, is desiring to do. One of those things is it's desiring to just experience a different place because it's exciting. It's like, as this was explained in that book I had mentioned, it's like your consciousness is somewhere else in another realm, looking through a catalog of all these different planets that it could go to as a starseed, right? And it sees Earth and it's like, oh, wars, look, World War II and the Roman age and all this crazy, fighting and greed and the patriarchy. And it's like, I want to go there because that's exciting. My planet up here, my planet on Sirius A, we haven't had a war in 100,000 of our years, right? We've been living, there's no disease here. There's no nothing, right? Everything's perfect. I want to experience imperfection again, right? So I'm going to go and experience that. And the other part, of course, is service. The other part is service because, as it's explained in this book very well, when a planet like Earth is ascending, there is another planet directly across the galaxy in the opposite quadrant that is also experiencing its own ascension. And it's like it's a balancing act, right? And if one planet goes a little bit higher than the other, ascends a little bit faster, it causes an imbalance in the entire galaxy. So the higher councils, like the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, or the Andromedans even, will ask for more volunteers to go to that particular planet to help balance it out. So that's what has happened with Earth. I feel Earth really fell behind. So the starseeds got sent back through time, because time is a really iffy subject, back through time to experience the entire process of being a 3D being, to come into this lifetime where we're at now, to raise the frequency so that we can be on that higher ascension path like we talked about in the beginning, where everyone can make the jump, hopefully. So, and the other thing, of course, is it's like a video game. Life really is a game when we boil it down. And for our true consciousness, when it sends it's like creating a new avatar, a new character, and sending it somewhere else to do its bidding for it. Like I'm doing my bidding for my true consciousness, where in Sirius or Andromeda, and it is learning through me. My true consciousness is learning through me. The more that I experience, the more lessons that I go through here in this Earth realm, the more experience that consciousness gains. It's like gaining XP points, experience points, right? And you gain them really fast when you send someone to do your bidding for you in a lower dimension, where the degree of difficulty is much higher. That's the thing about the third dimension. The degree of difficulty is extreme, because in most planets have long ascended from the third dimension into the fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth or ninth dimension, where there's no war, there's no disease, there's none of the issues we have here. So it's such a degree of difficulty here on Earth, plus the whole process of reincarnating, of constant reincarnation, and then the amnesia of forgetting why you came here once you're born. That is something that is not true of every place. That's something that is somewhat unique to this third dimension, the Earth realm. So that this is a very, very difficult game here on Earth. So that's why so many beings are so anxious to send a piece of themselves, downstep their vibration to be here. So I hope that gives some new information for people.
That's awesome. I'm totally digging this, and I think I can see everybody on YouTube is as well. And it gives you something to think about. We think that we are from this planet Earth, but when you talk to other people, where are you from? I'm from Lyra. I'm from Andromeda. But where in that star system are you from? It's like somebody asking us where are we, or us asking them where they originated from originally. They'll say, well, the Milky Way. I know, but where in the Milky Way? And
and we look at our science. We have the Hubble telescope, which, I mean, oh my God, one day I was looking on the internet, the pictures it takes, it's incredible, right? Just the vastness of just our galaxy and the other galaxies and just of everything. It's unfathomable how large creation is, So yeah, we don't know exactly where. I mean, it's like, think about it on a lower level. It's like, okay, you can say like you're from Sarasota, Florida, but it's like, where? There's like 1 million people in the area. Or I'm from Rochester, New York. There's 1 million people here. It's like, it's like where, and that's how it is. It just keeps going. The Russian doll, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like in the first Men in Black, when the cat was wearing the pendant, right? Which had an entire galaxy in it. Yeah. There's a truth to that, really. It keeps going, how infinite it gets, and it never ends,
It's kind of like our energy signature is formed from the day, the month, the year, the minute, the hour, the second, the millisecond, the micromillisecond.
Yeah.
Down, you can stretch that time out infinity to infinity. And that is completely unique. You can have identical twins born, but one's going to be born a little later than the other with a completely different energy signature.
You're right. Yeah. And then we think of like, relating this to the soul. And because that's a lot of what I like to do in my work is trying to decipher everything for people from the perspective of their soul. And, so the soul, I do absolutely believe that the soul chooses the exact moment of birth, because that's how the astrological chart, the birth chart, is formed. And we can look at the birth chart and really, like we talked about, we don't want to rely 100% on it, but it has a lot of truth to it. If you look at your birth chart, you're going to find, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. And it's amazing that the soul will not only choose your parents, your parents are 1,000,000% chosen by your soul. There are no accidents in that. There's also, I believe, no accidents in the time and the location you were born. Location's important too, because you're going to get a different experience. If you're born in Long Island like me, or if you're born in Somalia,
Yeah, that's a huge point, because your location plays completely into that energy signature of who you are. Ultimately, if we were all to become light bodies, we would still recognize each other by that energy signature.
Right. Yeah. You're right. That's interesting. I never even thought about that. You're right. Yeah. I don't see why not, because, and then it kind of comes down to like, well, the mathematics of creation, right? And how really, if we look at everything, we can kind of boil everything down to like, to math. When we think about the architecture of things, right? Of physical things, there can be a math formula for everything, but there also, I mean, if we look at the Fibonacci sequence, right? That has been a math formula that has created every planet around us, right? And even like bees, right? There's the sum to the Fibonacci sequence in them. And supposedly that's been changed, by the way, to the new sequence, which is the Christic or crystal sequence. I don't know if you've heard about this, where the Fibonacci sequence, see if I can bring this up on my very highly technological teaching device here. You said I could screen share. This is my screen sharing,
Okay.
considering
Okay.
I have no internet right now. But the Fibonacci sequence, it goes out in a spiral, but it never actually gets farther away in relative distance from its center. Whereas, I'm sorry. Yes, the Fibonacci sequence, I'll just explain it. The Fibonacci sequence keeps going and it gets farther and farther out, right? So what it is, it's creating more and more separation. So it's like in the center of the Fibonacci sequence is God, oneness. And then as the spiral goes farther and farther out, you're getting more into creation, right? Because you need a void to create. So God is the void that's created out of. And as the spiral goes farther and farther out, you get more separate from God and more into physical reality, which is always by nature separate from God, but also one with. It's a paradox, right? But the Christic sequence is, it doesn't actually get farther and farther away. It stays connected to its center, and the spiral stays kind of in the same ratio as it keeps going out from the center. And I'm not doing a great job describing it because it's not in front of me, but if people Google right now the Christic
Sequence.
try the Christic sequence, Christic spiral, try that. See what comes up. I know, what's his name? Sananda and Shekina. Are you familiar with them? They're spiritual teachers out there. They have the Institute for Divine Potential. They did a webinar on this a couple of years ago. They explained it really, really well. I don't know if they still have that up anywhere, but the Christic spiral is what they called it, the Christic spiral. And they said that had been downloaded in 2017 during the Great American Eclipse. That was downloaded, and actually they had been doing a group there. Yes, yeah, and Christoph Melchizedek. Yeah, and yeah, it's that same group of people. Thank you, Dustin. Yeah, it was Sananda and Shekina. Sananda, Shekina, and Christoph and Tiara Kumara, they led a group into the Great Pyramid during the eclipse, and they had people. I was one of the people who was tuning in, with my energy to help with the work from here remotely. And a lot of people around the world tuned in, and they said that was when this new template was downloaded into creation that becomes a new template for this realm. And so things will, the flower of life, they explained, is actually an outdated model of creation now. The flower of life was associated with the Fibonacci sequence. The Christic spiral is the new template of creation, and it's a template that creation becomes more bound to its center, which means it's closer to God, is a good way to describe it. So no longer that's of more and more separation on this planet, like in the age of Pisces. In the age of Aquarius, it's about becoming closer to God and closer to each other, right? If you think about the age of Pisces, the entire theme was the powers that be separating everyone, divide and conquer in every way. Religion, geographic location, and color and creed, male, female, right? It's been all about division. The age of Aquarius is all about, the new template is about coming together, everyone coming together. That's what, the age of Aquarius is. And, people who were alive in the 60s, Woodstock and all that, like my dad, like this is what they were doing, let's all hold our hands together and listen to the Beatles, right? And that went away for a while, but that's coming back now in a much more grounded way, where this is going to be actually the formation of the new geopolitical and economic structure of the planet, is everyone working together, not with one government overseeing 300 million people. It's perhaps little governments all working together. So I think what we start with, I think what happens is, first, there's a changing of guard at the top of the structures that already exist. So for example, we start to see more and more conscious candidates running in the United States, which happens. Look at Marianne Williamson, right? She was on the Democratic debates. She was a spiritual teacher, you know, whatever, however people feel about her. She literally is a spiritual teacher, right? And she is preaching, you know, higher morals, right? So we're going to see more and more conscious candidates who start to infiltrate governments around the world. And then, this is just the way I see it. And then over the course of a couple decades after that, we start to see an actual shift in power into smaller governments running people who are geographically closer. Just my view.
You know, ultimately, I think it would be, this is what I see happening in the future. All governments are gone, and we all have different councils of elders that we can vote on every week if we want to, every month, you know, and
Yeah,
it has to be 100% transparent. I have it
I
all
like that.
article called Global Unity Project, What the World Needs Right Now. And I'll post a link in the YouTube chat. But how cool would it be if they were 100% transparent? We could vote on them every day. And, you know, so somebody would say, hey, Greg, what did you do this week? Well, I looked into all the patents that have been suppressed, and there's free energy that we're going to be working on, water powered cars, you know, all these wonderful things that we can bring out to humanity.
I
Council
like
of
that.
Elders. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's somewhat what I was actually getting at. It just, you put it in a clearer way, actually. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
You're welcome.
And I would say in more localized geographic areas would make more sense, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Microcosm and macrocosm, definitely.
exactly. I mean, we've got in the U.S., we've got, you know, one government. The mass of the United States is incredibly large, right? And there's such a different cultures, you know, from Maine to Alabama to Hawaii and to California, right? So it's like we may even see, you know, maybe in the next, you know, 4 or 8 year cycle here, maybe we see more of a return to states' rights, even, you know, here in the U.S., where states are taking back more of their power, which is happening with the cannabis movement, right? Think about that. The federal government never would have legalized it federally, but eventually it will be legalized federally. Why? Because states like California and Colorado and Michigan and Massachusetts, they said, you know what, this is nuts. Let's just make it legal, right? And it's working. So it's already happening.
Well, they also have a patent on cannabis somehow too, the government here in the United States. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was just going to look it up.
Making money off of, yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it, you know, obviously when they're able to control the distribution of it, right? But we have to have some sort of trust in the FDA. I mean, still, you know, to do something. I mean, you know, look at it. You know, the USDA is keeping people from getting sick off of E. coli. They do a pretty good job of that. Do they do a great job with organic certification? No, not really, right? But it's something. So we got to give them credit for what they do. You know, has the FDA kept their paws somewhat out of the supplement industry? For the most part, yes. We'll see what happens. We got to give them credit where credit is due a little bit. Just, you know, in my opinion.
Well, I did a screen share on the patent that the government does have on cannabis while you were talking there.
Yeah, interesting.
So,
I
know that. I got a question, several questions that have come up here.
Yeah.
That I'd like to ask you. One is, how does one know if they came from the angelic realms?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I would say is, let's decompartmentalize the idea of what the angelic realms mean. Because from my study, what I would say is that there's an angelic realm for every realm. So Archangel Michael and Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Raphael and all these, and the Buddha and Jesus Christ and all, these are Earth's angels that are they're sitting in a council in the astral plane overseeing Earth. But perhaps every planet out there has their own council, and it is quite possible that yes, you came from the angelic realm of a planet. So for example, one of the things I do in my work is I do these starseed discovery sessions, and I lead people on an astral journey to their home planet. And so we really find out in really good detail where they're from. And most often people's true consciousness, they're physical beings like you and I walking the earth, walking the planet, right? But sometimes they're beings living in the astral plane, in the inner realms of the planet, or realms of the planet, the astral plane. And those would be more of angelic beings. So yeah, so it's quite possible to be an angelic being from another place or a more physical being from another place. And it can get a little bit hairy because a lot of times these beings, they can oscillate between dimensions, and they can be a fifth dimensional physical being or more of a sixth dimensional etheric being if they choose to. The only way to know for sure, I mean, I think I do a pretty good job with people in helping them to find out for 100% sure, is doing an astral journey. To me, that's the most accurate way. But I would say, outside of that, it really is just a matter of meditating on it and seeing what comes to you. And it's a matter of faith, really, ultimately. Because we can't really even know for sure if someone takes an astral journey, whether it's 100% true. It can feel true, and it probably is, but there's no scientific proof of any of this, really.
So here's the other thing I was wondering about. They say that Betelgeuse is dimming, and in one of my predictions, I said it's going supernova this year. What will that do to humanity? What will that do for you, being from Sirius?
Betelgeuse. What are you talking about?
The star system, Betelgeuse.
Okay.
It's up in the Sirius complex up there in that area, and it's dimming, and it's about to go supernova. So that's going to affect everything.
Does science say that? Or
yeah.
They do? Okay. I haven't read about this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Maybe you can tell me. I don't know.
Well, I'm curious what that expulsion of cosmic energy is going to do. I had a dream last year, long before I heard about Betelgeuse dimming, but I dreamt that I was looking up at the Orion's Belt constellation, and all the stars were lit up like a pinball machine. They kept like flashing, and they were super bright. And I was like, I have no idea what this means. But now that I read that Betelgeuse is going, I'm sorry, Betelgeuse. But that Betelgeuse is going, while it's dimming, it makes sense that it's about to go supernova. And when that happens, I think that's what's going to happen with that cosmic energy. It's just going to light up those planets like a pinball machine. That's why I was shown that dream.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it could be.
I have a question.
I don't know.
I have a question in YouTube from Adeline. How does Matthew feel about the Pluto-Saturn conjunction of 1/12/2020?
Yeah, so we got that coming up, the Pluto-Saturn conjunction, and we have that for most of the year. Pluto and Saturn are in Capricorn together, right? And I would say the word is breaking down illusions, breaking down illusions both individually and collectively, in a very real sense. It's already happening, certainly collectively. But, look at your relationships in your life, romantic relationships, family relationships, your environment, like we said. Look at your path with your career. Look at the idea of guilt. Saturn is the planet of karma, right? And guilt doesn't serve anyone. What kind of guilt are you still holding on to within? And are you ready to let it go? Because the guilt will hold back your creation, and the guilt will produce disease in your body, if it's there for too long. So think about guilt. Think about how can you become more honest with yourself than ever before. Literally looking at your day-to-day life also. I know Saturn's a farther out planet. It's not so much about the day-to-day, and Pluto certainly isn't, right? But anyways, looking at your life and seeing like, where are there addictive tendencies? Where are there things that are taking up your time, draining your health, draining your energy, that are not helping you? And these would be the kind of things, use that energy of Saturn to eradicate those things from your life. Kali the destroyer, she's Saturn, right? On a planetary collective, yeah, again, I think a lot of just things coming out this year. I visualize a lot of protests happening around the world this year with that the Pluto and Saturn thing going on. And I think, Greg, you mentioned as well a similar thing, right?
Yeah, with the revolutions that were going on now, as well as back during the last Pluto and Capricorn.
Yeah.
Now, how cool would it be, though, with Pluto being the destroyer and Saturn also being Chronos, Father Time, that if January 12th were the end of time?
Well, it might be the end of someone's watch if the battery dies, but I don't know what else it would be. Well,
time is just an illusion, right?
Time is an illusion anyways. Time is something that, but again, see, everything is a paradox. I decided my first book, the title is going to be Everything is a Paradox, because it really is. Time is both an illusion and also both the construct that is absolutely 1000% necessary for us to be in this realm. We need time as a marker that keeps us anchored so we can experience the 3D reality. Without it, it would be irrelevant. However, it doesn't mean that light workers who have started to reach a certain point in their development can not start to use the spiritual values and their own powers to kind of subvert time, and to slow down time if they need to speed up time. Everything is possible, especially now. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be the end of anything big, except maybe in a more esoteric sense. We may be able to move into more of a time. Well, what would be the opposite of what you mentioned? What would be the opposite of that concrete 3D time? It would be being in the present moment, right? So why don't we focus on that? Why don't we focus on being more in the present moment now, and not even wait until the 12th?
Well, ultimately, that's all there is, correct?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm going to unmute our Zoom here. And if anyone in Zoom has a question for Matthew, ask away right now. Chance. As I found, there's a lot of introverts here that are very quiet. I'm one of them. So, okay, I'm going to mute everyone back again.
You're not an introvert, Greg.
Oh, hell yeah, I am.
Really? Your microphone, and I see you. Well, your Facebook Live when I was still on Facebook on the beach, with people, and you don't seem like an introvert.
Well, it's different because here it is, it's easier here because I'm just in my house and just a screen, and as far as I can tell, it's just you and me and a handful of friends. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forget. I really forget people are even watching when I do interviews like this.
Amber Lee is asking if there's any correlations between the heavenly bodies and our chakras.
Oh my God, what a great question. Wow, I never thought of that. Oh my God. What do you think? Probably, right?
I think that each, for example, planet probably hooks up. Not each, but specific planets hook up with specific chakras. Well,
the solar plexus is the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure, right? Venus would be the sacral, because Venus is the planet of passion, love, sex, music, art, and that's what the sacral chakra has to do with. The root chakra would be what? What do you think?
Probably Mars, Aries.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, safety versus war. Yep, Mars. The heart chakra
somewhere on In5D, and I can't find it, but
the heart chakra, I think, would be maybe our own planet, Earth, because this is where we're operating from. And kind of Earth is blue greenish thing. The let's see what else. To me, the throat chakra would be the moon. Just the way I see it, because I mean, it could also be Mercury. Would make sense. Mercury is communication, and the throat is communication. But also, like, the throat can be our honesty and our true feelings, right? And the moon is, regardless of whether it's artificial or not, the moon rules our emotions and rules like truth within, hidden
Well, here it
truths.
is. I found, and now we're going to see how our guesses were, at least.
Yeah.
And you can find this on In5D.
What a fascinating question. I love when people ask things that I never thought about.
And we were correct. First root chakra is
I
Mars.
can't see it, so it's too small for me on my phone, so you're going to have to tell me.
Well, I'll just read them off. The first root chakra is Mars. We were correct on that. Second, I feel, is the chakra expression. Venus, sensuality.
Yep. Got that one.
Yep.
Got that one.
The solar plexus, I do, which you nailed. The sun.
Yeah.
Okay. And fourth, the heart, I love, is the expression, and the moon.
Oh, okay. Sure. I can see that. Okay.
The fifth, the throat chakra, I speak, is the expression, and the planet is Mercury.
Got that one.
Sixth, the third eye, the chakra expression is I see.
Neptune?
Saturn.
Okay.
Saturn. And the last one, the seventh, the crown, I understand, is Jupiter. So yeah, that was a great question.
Yeah, thank you for I forgot the name person, but that was an amazing question. Thank you.
I saw something earlier today. It was the word Earth written around in a circle, and when you saw it, it said so many different things. It said also heart repeated over and over again, because it was all never ending. EARTH, EARTH. So from the HEART.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And it said like several other things in there. I thought it was pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So let's see. I think I don't see any more questions coming up here. Is there anything else you'd like to cover?
Let's see. Let me go back to where we started in how to make 2020 how to use the energies of 2020 most potently. I would say is we really want to get realistic. We want to sit down and literally write down a list of every aspect of our life: finances, relationships, career, environment, right? Those are the main areas. And then, also spirituality, right? Where are you lacking? Which areas are you lacking? We can no longer ignore the areas that aren't so fun. Finances for a lot of people aren't the most fun area to talk about. Their family environment is not the most fun thing for a lot of people, but this is the stuff, if we don't deal with the stuff that's right in front of you in those really 3D areas, you're not going to be able to be the enlightened spiritual master that you want to be, because you'll be continually dragged down by all the 3D stuff. We don't ascend by avoiding the 3D. We ascend by transforming the 3D, right? So we have to first deal with the 3D, both individually and collectively. We can't ignore it and pretend like it doesn't exist. We deal with it, whether that means changing careers, whether it means moving, whether it means ending a relationship, whether it means taking a chance and asking someone out that you've been wanting to, whether it means restructuring your finances, whatever it means, this year, restructure your life. Okay. This would be a year for getting some life coaching or some mentorship, or doing it for yourself, being your own mentor if you think you can do it, but discipline the masculine values. 2020, if you can get through that, then for so many of us, the rest of the 2020s can be such a magical time, because we'll have set ourselves up for that, very practically, right? And the other thing is that I wanted to mention about this decade to come is the twin flame aspect of it. So we think about the number 2, right? 2021, 2024, right? The number 2 is there. 2 is like the Two of Cups, right? It's the partnership aspect. So if many of us, well, some people out there in the light worker communities have found their twin flames. Maybe 15-20%, I would say maybe 40% are in relationships that may not be their twin flame. It may be more of that karmic soulmate where eventually it's going to come to an end this decade or maybe even this year. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them. And then the other, percentage are single. And I think that by the end of this decade, almost all light workers will be in some sort of twin flame union with another person, whether, and it doesn't matter if you're heterosexual or homosexual, that doesn't matter. There's going to be twin flame unions for whatever your orientation is. But because the reason being the 2030s, like I had said, will be the growth of the conscious communities. And we need those twin flame couples together to be creating the conscious children, to be creating the new earth, the new communities, right? So the 2020s is going to be the decade of twin flame union. And once you come together with your twin flame, energetically what happens is there's a new energy body that is formed between you and your twin. And with that new energy body, you then go on this dual ascension journey together. That's why we see so many great, healer couples and teacher couples that are already forming out there. And once they get into partnership, they both take off even further and become even more effective. So that's something to look out for. If you've been desiring your twin flame, or you're not sure if you're in a twin flame union right now, perhaps this is the decade where it's all going to come together for you.
I think there's a lot of people right now that are working on, as you mentioned earlier, this is the year to lay down that foundation.
Right.
And a lot of people are working on their own personal stuff, not just from this lifetime, but from many other lifetimes past, to lay that foundation for the year of change next year, 5, being a 5-year, or no, actually next year would be a 7-year, correct? 2000.
No, it would be a 5.
Right.
2021.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it would have to be. Yeah. So laying the foundation for that year of change coming up. So that would make perfect sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, if you're not sure whether you're in a twin flame union now, ask yourself, how harmonious is it when we're creating together? People who have been in partnerships that have outlasted their time, they're not consciously creating together anymore. Their souls kind of feel stuffed, sticky when they're together trying to create something. They can create on their own, but not so much together anymore. People who are in twin flame unions, the creation together, whether that be teachings, business, art, or literally just laughter and fun or a baby, it's very easy. It's very graceful.
So before
just one thing to keep in mind, so that's,
before we leave, I'd like to give you the opportunity to tell people how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, please. Thank you. I appreciate that. So my website is youareadivinehuman.org. My Instagram is @youareadivinehuman. So those are the two. And my YouTube, you just search You Are a Divine Human. As I said in the beginning, most of my time I spend with people, working one-on-one with people over the phone. And if you're in any other country besides US or Canada, over Skype or WhatsApp. And a couple of things that I offer what's called a soul plan reading. And so what I do in that reading, I connect in with your guides and my helper guides to read your life, to want certain experiences that have already happened to you to happen. What is the karma that's being balanced in certain relationships, including any, romantic relationship, family relationships, children, especially the difficult relationships. What is the past life karma that is being balanced? How does that alchemization happen in this lifetime? And we also talk about your future. I read for your highest possible future in this lifetime. We also do what we call the Starseed discovery sessions, which I already went over a little bit. You get to take a journey to your home planet, and you get to bring back not only that vision and what you saw and experienced, and it feels very, very real. People tend to cry when they go there. And you also bring back an activation from your guides, and you can have this real much stronger connection with people, or with your guides going forward. And I also offer what is called quantum energy healing sessions, and I package that into a quantum energy healing session and a soul retrieval, so which is a very shamanic process. We do an inner child healing, we do the shamanic soul retrieval, we do a cord cutting ceremony, and then we do an energy healing process for each of your chakras and for your energy field, cleaning up anything in your field that you don't need any longer, parasites, entities, whatever else. You know, there's a lot of stuff that can get in there. So we clean all that for you. I also offer intuitive nutrition readings for people who are looking for guidance to their physical health. And I do a medical intuitive reading for people. And I put together an 8 to 10 page protocol for everyone to, with supplements, diet, exercises, meditations, and affirmations to heal your specific issue. And we'll talk about what it means metaphysically, why it might have manifested. And I also offer past life regressions, which is a journey into the most relevant past lives for you. And also future life progressions, where you get to travel in your astral body forward in this lifetime to experience your highest possible timeline. And most people, they look at my website and they're like, wow, everything looks really great. And most people end up doing what I call my spiritual mentoring package. And I am enrolling new people in the spiritual mentoring package, spiritual mentoring program for the end of January and also for February. And basically, there's a 4, 5, or 6 session option with that. And you can pick whichever package is best for you with your time commitment and financially. And we get to do pretty much everything. You know, the 6 session package, we do everything I just mentioned. And the 4 or 5, you get almost everything. Plus, you get a whole bunch of, you get 7 bonus webinars, which you do on your own time. You get homework in between each sessions. You get email support from me during the week between each session. So basically, you get to have me as a mentor for the entire time that we're together.
So while you were talking and telling everybody about how you can be reached and what you offer, I was showing your website. And
yes, I saw that. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And my shameless plug is in5d.net for if you want cool t-shirts like this that are infused with the
In5D.com. You said
9% quartz crystal sand. In5d.net. What was that, Matthew?
You said in5d.net. It's in5d.com, right?
No, the shirts are at in5d.net.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you can actually go to in5d.com to find the link for the shirts. So, and you ended up getting one.
I have 2 of them.
That's
I have 2 of your shirts. I love them.
Yeah, awesome. Sweet. So Matthew, thanks again. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to do this.
This is awesome.
I've always loved all your articles that you do on, and I look forward to all of them that you'll be sending. So well as I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this right now appreciate your article as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, Greg, can I ask you, and I'm sure the people want to know, how do you put because you go to the beach, right, and you collect sand and you put them in the shirt somehow.
Yes. Well, imagine this is a dye bottle, a bottle that I have dye in it. What I do is I put the sand inside the bottle, then I add the dye mixture to it, shake it up. So the dye is actually infused with the 99.9% quartz crystal sand. When I do an ice dye shirt, they're a little bit different. So I actually sprinkle the sand on top of the shirt before I lay down the dye and then the ice on top of that. So either way, they get the energy of the 99.9% quartz crystal sand. So
man, it's so cool. You're so artistic. Like your shirts are just awesome. I'm sure I'll get more. I'm gonna go to In5D.net and get more myself. They're so cool. I always get compliments. You know, at least in the sun. It's hard to wear them now in the middle of the winter. But
I know.
I always
Not here in Florida.
I always get compliments everywhere I go. My chiropractor, I go downtown, the crystal shop. Everyone says like, "Oh my God, that shirt is so cool."
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, thank you, brother. So good to have you.
Greg. I had so much fun with this. I had so much fun. Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much.
Right.
Much love to you.
Much love to you as well, brother. So until the next time, thanks everyone for joining me, and I'm sending you all infinite love and light. This is Greg from In5D.com, along with Matthew John. Namaste.